What's going on? What's going on? Great evening to all. We are live. A little bit tardy. She laughing like she like a evil maniac or something from like Mojo Jojo from like the Powerpuff Girls or something like that. Yeah, I used to watch the Powerpuff Girls. Them little ladies used to be popping. Bubbles! No! What's going on? What's going on, though? What's going on? Let's see. See how we get this topic going. On our way to the laboratory, a.k.a. the office. Right there. Right here. What's going on, DJ Swift? About to enter the office. We in here. We ready to get this live started. Start talking some wisdom, some positive, some influential, some inspirational stuff. A little bit of motivation, inspire some action in all of us. Not just myself, right? But at the end of the day, kind of like, yo, we all gotta give ourselves a purpose, man. If we don't find it, it's nobody else's fault but ours that we died without figuring our life out. Damn, this thing is a beach. It's a beach. Oh, you got something. So I said, I don't even remember what I had really posted, but I really wanted to talk about plant-based eating, aka veganism, as some extremists would call it. I don't think that's kind of extreme. I think that's kind of like logical, right? Don't destroy the planet for the sake of pleasure, of wants, and all those things. What's going on? Come on. What's going on, Mr. Patisi? Yeah, man. So I wanted to come and talk about plant-based, right? How I made the shift, why I made the shift to plant-based eating, and how this book eventually came into the equation. Because initially, it had nothing to do with anything that comes out of this book. I don't want to say religion because I don't believe this book has anything to do with religion. I believe we come up with all these fucking constrictive ideals and yokes that we decide to wrap around our necks and kind of like make ourselves responsible for things that we have no understanding of. This book is more like, I see it as like a philosophy book, man. Probably one of the oldest philosophy books that there is, right? It has been revised and rewritten and probably edited, right? So that regular individuals can understand what's really coming out of it. But my plant-based journey really started about 3 years ago. I think it was like September or August of 2016. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's like every August and September of every year since I can remember has always been critical in my life. I came back to the US in August of 2001 and started school on 9/11, on September 11, 2001. I went into the Marine Corps in September 09 and left in August of 2014. And I actually started really digging into plant-based eating and veganism and just like getting away from meat. like around the same time, and I started actually applying plant-based principles around August 2016. I went completely meatless on after I think no October, maybe before Thanksgiving. I don't even know when. I think November, right? Thanksgiving's in November, so around November I didn't eat any meat for Thanksgiving 2016. So I wasn't vegan, right? And I don't even consider myself a vegan right now, because at the end of the day, I'm sitting inside an Audi, and and all German cars have leather seats. So if I can avoid it or obviously I'm gonna be able to avoid it, but for my next vehicle, I'm obviously gonna avoid the leather, right? I'm not gonna try to put anything in my. Hey, how's it going, Shason? Hope I said that right. Excuse me if I didn't. But yeah, you feel me? Next vehicle, obviously, I'm gonna do my utmost to make sure that it is some polyester or something that's like synthetic, not animal. But I don't really consider myself a vegan because of that fact. There's too much to veganism for me to be out here. And another thing is that I don't like labeling myself, so that's why I'd rather just say that I'm mostly plant-based, so I'm like natural. I'm organic, baby. I'm with the order of the universe, the natural order. I'm all natural. You know, I'm not vegan. I'm all natural. I don't try to put any labels on me, and I don't try to put any labels on other people. So whenever people ask me like, "Oh, are you vegan?" I'm like, more plant-based. I don't eat meat. If you want to call that vegan, then by all means. But I'm not vegan, because from time to time, I do eat a slice. I do indulge in a slice of cheese. I do indulge in some Alfredo pasta, and so on and so forth. I just do my utmost to avoid meat 120%. You get what I'm saying? So, in about August of 2016, I found myself in a really bad place. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I was in a hole. Physically, I wasn't in the best shape of my life. Not saying that I was out of shape, I just wasn't working out at all. I'd maybe run once a month, maybe twice a month, just trying to every time I would try to get back into the flow of me working out. But college, it couldn't let me, and I thought it was only school, but then I started switching the way that I ate, right? Some people ask me like, "Yo, how did you stop eating meat?" I was like, "Yo, one thing is knowledge." I started acquiring knowledge. I started following pages. I started following vegan pages. I started following plant-based pages. And so I let that knowledge influence me. And one of the things that I saw, one of the posts that made me start doing experiments on myself was one post that said that, yo, humans walk around with anywhere between 15 to 25 pounds of rotting flesh, straight feces in their gut, in their intestinal tract. It was like, if you look at the intestinal tract of a carnivore and you look at the intestinal tract of an herbivore or omnivore, the intestinal tract of a carnivore is like 9 feet long, the small intestine, whereas the small intestine of an intestinal tract of a herbivore, i.e. humans, is 30 feet. And I was like, oh shit, you get what I'm saying? And I started thinking about how, and then I started reading like, oh, meat doesn't have any fiber, any carbohydrates. And everything that we plant-based eaters eat or herbivore eat is high on fiber and carbohydrates, right? Like, and I figured, oh, okay, so that maybe has to do with digestion, right? And so I started doing experiments. I would go one day, I'd eat meat, another day I wouldn't. I'd eat the other day I'd eat meat, another day I wouldn't. And eventually the days that I didn't eat meat began to get longer. It went from 1 day to 2 day to 3 day to now I was going a week without eating meat. And maybe if I went to a restaurant that had something that I like Olive Garden or maybe some Domino's or Pizza Hut, then I would be eating meat. But then it got to like October and November and I wasn't eating meat at all. And so I just kept doing it. I just kept not eating meat. But another thing that I added, aside from the knowledge that I was acquiring, was that I also began to add foods. And to be exact, I began to add superfoods to my diet. I began to add foods like chlorella, spirulina, foods that are actually high on vitamins that you can't find anywhere else but in the dirt, like vitamin B7. I mean vitamin B12, and those type of vitamins that are super good for you. High foods that were high on iron and just fiber, protein. And so I started adding these foods, mainly chlorella and spirulina. Those two were the main foods that I added, and that really helped me flush my body out and rejuvenate my body. Because one of the reasons I say rejuvenate is because chlorella and spirulina are two superfoods. They're actually considered superfoods used by athletes all over. They're mainly chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is the substance that gives plant its green color. And another thing that I learned, like just from reading memes and then researching, was like chlorophyll has the same chemical, the same molecular makeup or chemical, whatever the heck you want to call it, as like similar to blood, similar to juices from fruit, right? That's why it's also so good to eat fruits, and why we feel so amazing after eating fruits. And it's because we're drinking nature's blood, the blood that was meant for us, not the blood of animals, the blood that nature designed for this living organism. And so I just kept going with the flow. I kept reading memes. I had one meme that really influenced me, and this was before I even tried psychedelics, because that was the whole turning point. But I read one meme, and it was like, oh, God, consciousness, energy manifests in four different ways on this physical plane that we live in. And it was like it sleeps in minerals. That's why we're able to kind of basically like morph these minerals into usable tools, right? We create glass out of crystals, and we create carbon fiber and wires out of other minerals that are solid, that they are sleeping. They cannot act on their own. It was like plants dream, right? So consciousness dreams in plant. God dreams through plants. That's why when we eat fruits, we feel so good about ourselves, and why we feel so energized. And that kind of made sense, right? Because like it only said that God dreams in plants, and I was like, oh, so I just started doing my own deductive reasoning from my own experiences with plants, especially with marijuana, right? Having started smoking at 16, and having had that first psychedelic effect at 16 when that first time smoking. And it kind of like, it was like, oh shit, that makes sense. Okay. And then it was like, and it wakes up in animals. And I was like, oh snap. So animals are God just awake, just walking around, just chilling, not really in a rush to do anything. Why? Because it's just the animal. There's no really intelligent, self-aware being in them. Like, yeah, they're aware, they are alive, but they don't fear long-term consequences like us humans do. They don't understand their mortality like us humans do. And so it went to the last part. It was like God consciousness wakes up wakes up an animal, but becomes self-conscious and aware in human beings. And that right there, that was the whole culminating, right? And then came the mushrooms, and the psychedelic mushrooms really woke me the heck up, and it kind of put everything into perspective. When I had the psychedelic experience, it put everything into perspective, and it allowed me the ability to understand, to obtain deeper understanding about things that I had no understanding of, and it put me in line with things that I was at odds with. One of those things being the Bible, religion, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and it put everything into perspective, and it was like, you're on the right track. You're fine for not eating not eating meat, that you're actually on the right track. That is how you're supposed to be living. You are now more in line with the order of the universe than you were before, when you were just downing dead flesh and protein shakes and testosterone boosters and just like stuffing your face with alcohol and drugs, and you get what I'm saying? So I was in a really bad place. And so once I had that experience, it kind of brought me back, and I had seen a post about Genesis 1:28, Genesis 1:29, which says, it's not even in this book. This thing doesn't even have it in there. But it was like, I created all seed-bearing food, plants, so that you can eat them. I created them for the animals of the air, of the sea, and of the earth. And basically, I created you as well, so that you can have dominion over these animals, and you can have dominion over them. We misinterpret that. We think that dominion means that like we have total and absolute control, and they're our slaves, and they're supposed to do whatever they... No, dominion means that we're supposed to be the protectors, all right? Adults have dominion over their children. You don't eat your children. You don't abuse your children. You don't take advantage of their lack of understanding. No, right? You protect them. You look after them. You nurture them. You encourage them. And so that's what I interpreted it as. And then that was it. The only knowledge that I had about the Bible and it speaking about veganism was only Genesis 1:28 and 1:29 and going on from there. But then I had a friend, and he gave me this book. He gave me a New Testament. He gave me the Holy Bible. He gave me a New Testament. Mind you, I've never read none of this. I've never ever read a book, a biblical book, to and through. And so I was like, you know what? I'll read it. I think it's that time. I think I'm mature enough to not rely on other misguided people's opinion about this book. Let me make my own opinion about it, right? Not letting myself be guided by another's opinion or misguided view of whatever they think is. And yesterday I was speaking to one of my other senior friends, a lot older than me, a lot more knowledgeable than me, a lot more experienced than me when it comes to this whole scriptures, when it comes to scriptures, because obviously he's been around longer than me. He's actually was raised in Judaism, so he has a way deeper understanding about not just Judaism, but also Christianity as a whole, right? And so I was speaking to him, and we're discussing. We started discussing veganism, and somehow the Bible came up. Mind you, he's not religious himself neither. He doesn't really follow many customs, but we started speaking, and he was telling me like, yo, I was reading the Bible the other day because so and so gave it to me, and I didn't know, but like everywhere in the Bible they talk about like how all bad, everything bad that happens to humans, it happens after they started eating meat. And everywhere that they speak of something, like all the prophets, and it is true. I'm over here trying to find where it is, because I'm pretty sure I wrote it down somewhere. I highlighted a lot, but I highlighted, and I think I wrote vegan on some areas. And he was like for example, Adam and Eve, right? They say they call it they call it an apple, but it wasn't really an apple. It was flesh. Eve saw the snake eating an apple or eating an animal, and she went and ate it, and she went and killed an animal and grabbed the flesh and brought it to Adam, and that was the tree of life. She was taken from the tree of life, and she bit into that flesh, and they got sick and they got cold, and then they had to go and kill another animal to take their skin and put it over themselves. And it was like, yo, that's crazy. Because like right now, right, we look at Wuhan, China, right? They're saying that it came from like people eating bats. I don't believe that. You feel me? I think it was a bio weapon that was released. but they involved animal. But at the end of the day, a lot of the people that are dying are mostly animal eaters, right? Why? Because their immune system is compromised. They have swallowed their own flesh. Literally, when you eat an animal, you are eating your own flesh. How you doing, Diva? Hey, I got that colloidal silver at that same spot. I've been meaning to send you a picture of it. They actually do have it, and you are most likely about a mile away from the spot. Hopefully you get this message. If not, I'll still message you in the private. But yeah, it was like it made so much sense. Like, it was like, yo, most of the problems in human, most of the health problems, most of the societal problems, most of the political problems, it all has to do with the fact that us humans, we eat meat. Our compassion, our empathy for other beings is not where it should be. It's actually the complete opposite. We have very little regard for animals. We have very little regard for the damage that we do to them and the environment. And so it's obvious that the fact that we continue to consume dead flesh continues to be one of the greatest problems that continue to wreak havoc on this beautiful planet, man. I mean, we shouldn't be eating animals. I mean, obviously people are going to be like, oh, that's your opinion. I mean, it is my opinion, but it is not just a baseless opinion. It is an opinion founded on facts, founded on truth, founded on not just truth, but founded upon compassion, love, and truth. And there is no axiom that has stood the test of time more than those two: compassion, i.e. love, and truth. Nothing can ever supersede those things, and therefore my opinion is not just an opinion, it is a fact and it is a truth. You get what I'm saying? We shouldn't be eating animals. We have been given free will, but what is sad about it is that most of us are not free from our will. We're actually a slave to it. Literally, we're a slave. Literally, we are a slave to our will. We have no control over the things that we do. We have very little control over our life. We have very little control over our emotions. We have little control over the creative power that God has endowed each and every one of us. And that's why so many of us are living a life that is manufactured by the system that is controlling us, rather than a life that we design for ourselves. And this problem is going to continue to persist so long as we lack knowledge of ourselves. So long as we remain disconnected from that infinite consciousness, from God, from that Christly essence in us all, so long as that Christly essence remains underdeveloped or undeveloped at all, because most people, they're walking around and they're soulless. They have no remorse for many things, right? And that is that's a generational lack of insight and of knowledge of self. Because at the end of the day, if you had some knowledge of yourself, you wouldn't conduct yourself in the manner in which many of us conduct ourselves towards our brothers and sisters. We wouldn't judge the way that we judge. Every plan that my Heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. That's dope. Like I said, man, I'm over here just sipping through this book. I really want to get me the whole thing, whether it be written by whether it is the Jordan Maxwell or just a regular Old Testament. But I really want to get the whole thing. But yeah, man, I really just wanted to come on here and share that insight. Obviously, this video will go on the YouTube, so you can most definitely go and check it out. Obviously, I implore you to subscribe and check out the video. Leave a like, leave a comment, share it if you feel like you heard something that you feel and believe that somebody out there needs to hear. That's really why I do these things. Not just for you, not just for me, but for those that are gonna come after we are gone. Because at the end of the day, so long as technology is around, these videos will be around, and people 20 years from now, 30 years from now can go back and watch this and be influenced by something that I said in the now, right? They're gonna see that later. Just like Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich was written in like 1940 or 1950. I don't even know. Can't remember, like 1920s, possibly. And I mean, it's complete. That book has completely changed my life. Marcus Aurelius wrote his book back in 100 and in the year 168, around that time, and we're in 2020, and that book influenced me back in 2016, correction. So yeah, man. This whatever I'm saying now may not apply to you, or it may, but at the end of the day, yo, we're here. We're doing our best to stay consistent. Do not judge by appearance, but judge with right judgment. I guess I underlined that. That must have been important when I read it. Or it is still important, right? You don't want to misjudge. You don't want to be judging people just based on what you see. Too often we do that. Too often. For the children of the desolate one will be more than those of the ones who has a husband. Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. Peter spoke a lot about this. I'm surprised I haven't found anything that Peter said. Peter said a lot. Some people are like, yeah. Peter said a lot. Saul, get me? Saul, he hated Christians so much he freaking hunted them down left and right. Wherever he heard Christians were gathering, he would go and just try to like smite them. And then bright light came from the stars, blinded him. He fell off his horse and was blinded for like 3 days. And the man said, don't do anything that will cause your brothers to stumble. Alright? Eating meat, it is something that will cause your brother to stumble, to fail, to fall, and to hit himself hard. Alright? Aside from Genesis 21, which is not here, I cannot find where I labeled it. But other than that, hey, we accomplished a mission today. Alright? That is all that matters. What was that mission? We remained committed to our the agenda we set forth. We said that we were going to come on live, came on live. We have spoken, we have shared our perspective, we have shared valuable information. We have done the little things, that 20% that make the greatest differences. And that's all that matters. It's like making your bed in the morning. It's the little things that matter. Other than that, I am going to continue. I'm going to go back in the house and most likely now eat my first, maybe my second meal. And yeah, we'll be talking later. All right. Love y'all. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And make sure that you're staying healthy, hydrated, and that you're eating your fruits. All right. fruits mainly. 1.